Hello, today is August 25th, 2019. I have about 200 or so PNS flashcards to go through, so I think I'm going to record a bit, and hopefully this will motivate me to go over these flashcards on a daily basis next time instead of procrastinating and doing them all on the weekend when I should have been doing them every day. Anyways, first question. What is inattentional blindness? Inattentional blindness is just when you are looking, you're staring at an object, you're focusing on an object in front of you so much so that you're totally unaware of all the other objects that are around you. Focus on thinking we often see. Yep. What are the four visual cues? Color, form, motion. Color, form, motion. Color, form, motion, and shape. Depth. Color, form. So, form, color, form, motion, constancy, depth. What is the limbic system? The limbic system consists of the utricle and saccule, which make up the semicircular canal, and they are involved in head positioning and linear acceleration. Nope. Set of structures in brain that Set of structure in brains that play an important role in regulating motion contains hippocampus, hypothalamus, the amygdala, and the thalamus. Set of structures in the brain that plays an important role in regulating emotion contains Set of structures in the brain that plays an important role in regulating emotions contains hippocampus, hypothalamus, amygdala, and thalamus. What does LSD do? LSD will modify serotonin neurotransmission and cause mydriasis, which is the dilation of the eye and the pupil, dilation of the pupils in the eye. Especially the 5-HT2 receptor family also dilates pupils. Okay. Let's say that's hard. What happens to the tippling as it gets pushed? So the endolith contains lots of calcium, lots of K plus, or potassium, lots of potassium. No, it contains calcium. The endolith contains lots of calcium, so the calcium goes into the cells within the tipplings, which then causes the influx of potassium ions into those cells, which triggers an action potential. Calcium, yeah. So potassium's on the outside to flow into the cell. Okay, no, it was the other way around. Endoliths were potassium rich, and calcium tended to flow, which causes action. Okay. Process of working memory occurs at the sensory register, the visual sketch pad, and the phonologic loop. What is the limbic system? The limbic system is part of the brain that's involved in regulating emotion. Remember, hippocampus, hypothalamus, amygdala, and thalamus. Yeah, thalamus. Hippocampus, amygdala, substructure of emotions. Korsakoff syndrome. Korsakoff syndrome, I think it was due to a deficiency in thiamine, which is vitamin B1, or a intense alcoholism, and this causes you to get anterograde and retrograde amnesia. Okay. What is the 5 components of language? Syntax. I forgot. Phonology, morphology, semantics, syntax, and pragmatics. Linguistics. Phonology, morphology, semantics, syntax, and pragmatics. Phonology, morphology, semantics, syntax, and pragmatics. Okay. What is the role of the thalamus in the limbic system? I don't remember. Relays information, directs most of your senses into the appropriate area of the cortex and the brain, smells you only sense by. Okay. Sensory realization, most senses into the appropriate area. The cortex in areas of the brain, except smell. Okay. Pragmatics. I forgot what pragmatics were. Dependence of language on context and pre-existing knowledge. Pragmatics refers to the dependence of language on context and pre-existing knowledge. Dependence of language on context and pre-existing knowledge. Where do all information of the body end up in the brain? They end up in the visual spatial sketchpad and the phonologic loop. All information from the body ends up in the brain, specifically at the phonologic loop and the visual spatial sketchpad. Oh, they end up at the somatosensory cortex of the parietal lobe. All right. Where are the three location taste buds? So the taste bud contains the filiform, which is the front of the tongue, the foliate, which is the side of the tongue, and the circumvallate, which is the back of the tongue. Fungiform, foliate, side of the tongue, and circumvallate, back of the tongue. Okay, that was hard. What is the olfactory epithelium located? Just below the cribriform. It's inside the nasal passages of animals, which is below the cribriform plate. Yeah. What is the role of the thalamus in the limbic system? So it is a sensory relay station in which it relays all the sensory information to specific cortexes and areas of your brain except smell, in which smell bypasses the thalamus. Overt orienting is when you shift your attention from one object to another object. And overt orienting without looking, I think overt orienting uses acetylcholine, which is made from the basal forebrain. Oh, it's overt or attention. Okay. So this is different. All right, where we do that one. What is the role of the amygdala in the limbic system? So I know amygdala deals with happiness. Okay, anger, violence, fear, anxiety. Aggression center, stimulation of amygdala produces anger, violence, fear, and anxiety. Aggression center. Okay. What happens when the oval window gets vibrated? When the oval window gets vibrated, it vibrates at the same frequency as the stimulus, which is the sound, and which causes the elliptic window to vibrate also, which triggers an action potential. Damn it. Fucking hell. It pushes fluid and causes it to go around the cochlea, around structure lined with hair cells. What happens when the oval window gets vibrated? It pushes fluid and causes it to go around the cochlea, around structure lined with hair cells. Pushes fluid and causes it to go around cochlea, around structure lined with hair cells. Oval window gets vibrated. Is that a different one? It pushes fluid and causes it to go around the cochlea, hair cells. Okay. THC. How does each stimulant function at the physio? THC is a stimulant, as we all know, and THC will increase, act on. No, this increases your brain's activity to GABA, and another one. I think it was dopamine and GABA. Yeah, increases dopamine GABA activity. That was hard. What is the role of the amygdala in the limbic system? So amygdala is the aggression center in the limbic system, and it's causes when stimulated, it induces fear, pain, and anxiety, which are the biggest one. Yeah, good enough. What is contralateral organization? This is another term that describes how left visual information gets processed by the right side of our brain and vice versa. Broca's aphasia is an issue with Broca's area, and Wernicke's aphasia is an issue with the Wernicke's area of the brain, which is on the left side of the brain. Broca's aphasia deals with I think it was speaking. So I think this is when this is a problem with speaking. Broca's aphasia is a problem with speaking, while Wernicke's aphasia is a problem with understanding words. Yeah. Broca's aphasia, people have trouble producing speech. Warning aphasia, where words seem to speak out and they don't understand what people say. Okay, that was still hard. What is lexical access? This is where you, oh man, I think this is where you, within a certain language, you're connecting words that you've never seen before to meanings that you have inside your head. So you're creating words for meanings in your head. Yeah. What happens if you destroy both sides of your amygdala? I have no idea. It causes Kluver-Bucy syndrome. Okay. This will result in hyperorality, hypersexuality, and disinhibited behavior without thinking of consequences. So, okay, because remember, amygdala is the aggression center. So if you disrupt it, you cause Kluver-Bucy syndrome, hyperorality, things with mouth, hypersexuality because you're more aggressive, and disinhibited behavior. Okay. Kluver-Bucy syndrome. Okay. What is the Vygotsky theory of language and thoughts? Ooh, Vygotsky. I don't remember. It's at the tip of my tongue. Language and thought are independent. Okay. So Vygotsky is the guy who's all about socialization. Language and thought are independent but converge through development. We eventually learn to use them at the same time via socialization. What do electroencephalograms measure? I think it measures brain waves during sleep. Yep. What is the path of sound in human ear? So the path of sound goes from the... Was it the... No. I forgot what I wrote. Okay, yeah. Pinna, which is the outer ear, then goes to the auditory canal, then goes to the tympanic membrane, which is the eardrum. Outer ear, auditory canal, and tympanic membrane, which is the eardrum. Auditory canal. All right. If you destroy both sides of your amygdala, you're going to cause a... you destroy both sides of your amygdala. When you destroy both sides of your amygdala, you're going to cause... This is the question. So you're going to cause Kluver-Bucy syndrome, I think. Kluver-Bucy syndrome, which causes hyperorality, hypersexuality, and disinhibited behavior. And disinhibited behavior is just when you are... you're doing actions without thinking about its consequences. Kluver-Bucy syndrome. What happens when a tip links get pushed back and forth by endolymph? Okay. Endolymph contains lots of potassium. They are rich in potassium. And potassium, K+, is going to flow into the cells with the tip links, and that will cause calcium to also flow into the cell, which causes an action potential. A stretch, calcium flow into the cell, and a K+ rich endolymph. Calcium channels, flow calcium will cause action potential. That was good. Processing of working memory occurs at the occurs at the visual spatial sketchpad and the phonologic loop. What are the 4 visual cues? Depth, form, motion, constancy. What does the state piece do? It vibrates, I think, back and forth. Yeah, state piece. Moves back and forth at the same frequency at stimulus and pushes elliptic window back and forth. What for region of the brain does the VTA send? Okay, PANA. So VTA will send dopamine to PANA, which stands for the prefrontal cortex, amygdala, nuclear accumbens, and hypothalamus? Hippocampus. Almost got it. Okay. What is the dual coding hypothesis? We tend to learn better when we see the visual object. What was it? See the visual object and remember. Oh man, I forgot. So, okay, words, it's easy to remember words associated with image than either one alone. Words and images. 5 components of language. Shit. Pragmatics, syntax, semantics. I It was phonology. This one with an M. Morphology. So morphology, phonology, semantics, syntax, and pragmatics. When the off-center bipolar cells are turned on, this activates the on-center retinal ganglion cells, which send signals to the optic nerve to the brain. Oh fuck, off-center. God damn it. Alright, define each of the following pragmatics. Pragmatics, looking just refers to giving meanings to words. Depends on language context. What's the role of hippocampus? No idea. Key in forming new memories, convert short-term memory to long-term memory. Okay. People who are going to do meditation will increase 3 parts in the right hippocampus, right nuclear accumbens, and right nuclear septalis or something like that. Prefrontal cortex, right hippocampus, and right anterior insula. Where do all informations in the body end up in the brain? At the somatosensory cortex of the parietal lobe in the brain. What is the limbic system? The limbic system is a region of the brain, consists of components that are responsible for emotion. So these include the hippocampus, hypothalamus, amygdala, and thalamus. The universalism theory of language states that all languages have some similar components to, or there's a universal tie to all languages in the universe, in the earth. Okay, this is completely wrong. Thoughts determine languages completely. Your thoughts dictate your language. What is the role of the hippocampus in the limbic system? What is the role of the hippocampus in the limbic system? The hippocampus is responsible for forming memories, converting short-term memory to long-term memory. What is linguistic determinism and words? 2 types. There's weak linguistic determinism and strong linguistic determinism. Weak linguistic determinism just refers to the idea that language dictates thoughts. Right? Language dictates thoughts. Yeah, language dictates thoughts. Right, weak, okay, relativism and the Whorfian hypotheses, which are important for remembering. Overt orienting. This is when you're completely shifting your body, such as your ear, to the sound source to better pick up on the stimulus. Yeah. You put salty receptor inside sweet cell, salty food will taste sweet. What did Johnson and Hines propose about the attenuator? The attenuator, which is responsible for decreasing the sound or the signal coming from the other ear that you're not paying attention to, can vary from individual to individual. Depends on demand necessitated by a particular attention task. So it can vary. When the oval window is vibrated, it will shift in around the cochlea, which causes action potential. Yeah. Thalamus in the brain. The thalamus is this sensory relay station, so it's going to relay all your senses except smell to certain areas of the brain or cortex. Smell actually bypasses the thalamus. What is operational span testing? This is where you give a person a math test, then you tell them a word, and later take away the word and ask them how many words they're able to recite, and the number of words they were able to recall after taking the math test is called the operational span. When rhodopsin changes state, transducin will break off rhodopsin and alpha subunits will bind to another dis protein called phosphodiesterase or PDE. What happens when you destroy the hippocampus? Don't forget. Destruction of hippocampus will keep old memories, but you just can't make any new memories. So this is called anterograde amnesia. keeping old memories, just can't make new memories. Anterograde amnesia. Because anterior means forward or new. So you can't make new memories, but you can keep old memories. Okay. What is implicit memory? Implicit memory are just any memories that are non-declarative. Implicit memory involves like procedural memory, non-declarative. Think of part of long-term memory. What is conduction aphasia? This is the inability to conduct signals from the Broca's area to Wernicke's area, I think. When the accruit fasciculus is broken, which makes it hard to conduct listening and speaking activities. What is conduction aphasia? This is when the accruit fasciculus is broken, which connects the two areas. It makes it hard to conduct listening and speaking activities. So, kind of. Accruate fasciculus. Which type of memories are habits? They are implicit memory and are stored in the basal ganglia. Implicit memory, procedural memory, type of implicit memory stored in the basal ganglia. What is the role of the amygdala in the limbic system? Amygdala, aggression center. So when stimulate, the amygdala causes hyperorality. It's the destruction of the amygdala. Responsible for things like fear, anger, anxiety, all that stuff. What happens when you destroy the hippocampus? You're unable to, you keep your old memories, but you're unable to form new memories, which is called anterograde amnesia. What is Vygotsky? So remember, Vygotsky is a social dude. So he argues that language and thought are completely separate, but as you grow older through socialization, they can become intertwined and connect with each other. And remember, converse to develop. These at the same time via socialization. What is the role of hypothalamus in the limbic system? So the hypothalamus in the limbic system is responsible for forming memories. So it'll convert short-term memory to long-term memory. Not the hippocampus. Hypothalamus regulates the autonomic nervous system, endocrine, hunger, sleep, thirst, and sex. What is the path of sound in the human ear? So it goes from the pinna, which is the outer ear, to the auditory canal, which is part of the inner ear, then goes to the tympanic membrane, which is the eardrum. A whole report technique. Whole report technique is given with 3x3 thumb or matrix and tells them to repeat an entire row. They're able to repeat 4 to 5 numbers before the image has left their sensory memory. Suspensory ligaments. Contains the ciliary body. Attached to the ciliary muscle, they come together to form the ciliary body, which secretes the aqueous humor. What happens when you destroy both sides of your amygdala? By destroying your amygdala, you're destroying your aggression center, so it will cause hyperorality, hypersexuality, and inhibited behavior, in which you completely do actions without thinking about its consequences. Yeah. Kluver-Bucy syndrome. But I saw it. All right. What does the stapes do? The stapes will vibrate at the same frequency as the incoming sound, which causes the elliptic window to move back and forth. What is the role of the hypothalamus in the limbic system? Not the hippocampus. Hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is responsible for the endocrine system, specifically the autonomic nervous system, and it will responsible for the endocrine system, sleep, thirst, sex, all those things. Endocrine system, hunger, sleep, thirst, sex. Yeah. Vita. The VTA, ventral tegmental areas, sends dopamine to PANA, which is the prefrontal cortex, amygdala, nuclear accumbens, and hippocampus or hypothalamus? Hippocampus. Yep. Panda. Panda. Sounds like panda. Like hippo. Panda hippos. Okay. What is a dual coding hypothesis? It's just the idea that it's easier for people to remember words associated with images rather than each one alone. What is retrieval? Recalling memory from your long-term memory and bringing it to your short-term memory. Working memory. What is procedural memory? Procedural memory is just a type of implicit memory associated with procedures. Close enough. Describe the pathway a molecule comes into your nose and how the brain picks it up. So benzene, if it's an odor molecule, will bind to receptor cells on the olfactory epithelium. The net sends a signal through the cribriform plate into the olfactory. I think it's called into the glomerulus, which is a region containing mitral cells and tufted cells, I think. And those will send action potential to the brain, but totally mix it up. Yeah. So benzene will bind to receptor that will tip a specific olfactory sensory cells. Binding will trigger an action potential which will synapse with mitral tuft cells at a specific glomerulus and will send projections to the brain. Okay, that's the olfactory bulb. Gotcha. Okay. People who regularly go to deep meditation show an increase in which three parts of the brain? Prefrontal cortex, right hippocampus, and right anterior insula. Language dictates, no, thought dictates language. Pragmatics is associated with pragmatics are associated with formation of I think was it depend? Oh, it's the measure of how much a language depends on pre-developed knowledge. Yeah. 5 components of language: phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, pragmatics. Yes. What is linguistic determinism and what are its 2 types? So linguistic determinism argues that language dictates thoughts completely. There's weak linguistic determinism, which is relativism, and there's strong linguistic determinism, which is called the Whorfian hypotheses. What is the role of the hippocampus in the limbic system? The hippocampus is responsible for the formation of memory, so it turns short-term memory into long-term memory. The law of past experiences argues that our past experiences or our past ideas influence the way we perceive some things. So we are often used to seeing a stoplight as red meaning stop, so we perceive red things in life to mean bad or just to mean stop. Why did Johnson and Hayes... So they argue that the attenuator can be varied or amplified or decreased based on the intensity of the attention task. Yeah. Which of the senses are considered to be ipsilateral? So ipsilateral senses are like gustation, olfaction are ipsilateral. Contralateral is vision, hearing, and touch. Positive, negative emotions evoke more activity on the, I don't remember this one, left hemisphere, while negative emotions evoke more activity on the right hemisphere for some reason. What sort of memories will remain stable when you grow up? So the memories that remain stable when you grow up include procedural memory, which is a type of implicit memory, and recognition memory, which is like recognizing things off a list. What is representativeness heuristic? Representativeness heuristic is I think this has to do with what was it? I forgot. People look for the most representative stereotyping. Okay. People look for the most representative answers and look to match a prototype, a given concept of what is typical. So stereotyping include judge people based on the given set of prototypes. Asian, big glass neck, shoes, nerd. Okay. What is conduction aphasia? Conduction aphasia just refers to the idea that you're unable to connect in between the Broca's area and Wernicke's area, which is a problem with the accruent. So your accruent fasciculus is damaged, so you're unable to do listening and speaking activities simultaneously. Positive emotion, for some reason, evokes more activity on the right side of the brain. Negative emotion evokes more activity on the left side of the brain. Oh. Positive left, negative right. Habits are procedural memories, which are implicit memories stored in the basal ganglia. The vestibular system is used for linear acceleration and positioning. What is a prefrontal cortex responsible for? It's responsible for a lot of things. Executive control, problem decision making, how you act, social and develop from birth. Okay. Executive control, problem decision making, and how you act in social situations. Sensory adaptation important is because when some cells or neurons fire, if you continue firing them for a prolonged or long duration of time, they will eventually die out. So it's always good to do sensory adaptation. What are semantic networks? Semantic networks are just the way we organize thoughts and ideas. Concepts organized in your mind as connected ideas, and related ideas are connected closely to each other. Positive emotion evokes more activity on the left side of the brain, while negative emotion evokes more activity on the right side of the brain. How can I remember that? Negative, right side of the brain. Right is negative. Left is positive. What's on left? Left. You can think of left as left. How is left positive? Positive emotion evokes. I just have to remember. Yeah, so positive emotion evokes more activity on the left side of the brain, while negative emotion evokes more activity on the right side of the brain. Think of it like I got a bug bite on my right arm, and I was sad about it. So, negative emotion on my right side of the brain, and my left arm, it's all fine. So I have positive emotions on the left side. Yeah, I don't know how to memorize that. What happens when you destroy the hippocampus? So hippocampus is responsible for, let's see here, memory. So if you destroy the hippocampus, you're able to keep old memories, but you're unable to form new memories, which is anterior grade amnesia. So essentially, linguists, they make up the ciliary body, connect the ciliary muscles, which make up, and they form the ciliary body, which secretes the aqueous humor. What is the prefrontal cortex responsible? Executive control, decision making, and how you act in social situations. It's very developed from birth. What are the two divisions of the autonomic nervous system? There is the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system is rest and digest, while sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight. What are the three things to consider when a human is looking at an object? Consider its color, form, and motion. What is the nativist perspective Noam Chomsky approach on language? So Noam Chomsky argues with something called LAD, which is a language attenuation device or something like that. Language attenuation device, and we get it from birth. And this came from the idea that lots of languages are common around the world, and the LD simply makes it easier for a child to pick up learning a language and eventually reaches a critical point where it decreases in activity around age 8 or 9. Yeah, language acquisition device. What are the three biases? There is confirmation bias. There is confirmation bias, overconfidence, confirmation bias, overconfidence, and I think it was belief perseverance. Confirmation bias. What happens during the N1 sleep stage? So during the N1 sleep stage, we often get this is characterized by theta brain waves. We get something called hypnic jerks, which is twitches while we sleep, and we also get hypnagogic hallucination, which is seeing things that aren't really there. What is the role of the hypothalamus in the limbic system? So hypothalamus is responsible for the regulating the autonomic nervous system, endocrine system, regulating sleep, sex, thirst, all those things. Hunger, sleep, thirst, sex. Cool. Describe the pathway when a molecule benzene comes to the nose and how the brain picks it up. So benzene as an odor molecule will bind to sensory olfactory cells in the olfactory epithelium. Then the signal travels up the cribriform plate and goes into the olfactory bulb, where it binds to mitral and tufted cells, which are located in the glomerulus, and those will send signals to the brain about the smell. What is a physiological component, cognitive, and behavioral of an emotional experience, such as seeing a surprise party? So physiologically, your heart rate is going to increase, your muscle tense up, and your skin temperature increases. Cognitive experiences dictates how you interpret this emotional response. Someone who likes a party will enjoy it. Someone who doesn't like a party won't enjoy it. Behavior-wise, you give out body language and facial expression. Ray light from the left visual field hits the nasal side of the left brain and it hits the temporal side of the right hemisphere. Ray of light from the right visual hits the nasal side of the right hemisphere and hits the temporal side of the left hemisphere. Left eye. Fuck. Nasal side of the left eye and temporal side of the right eye. It's the hemisphere of the brain. What the hell? Left side in the nasal side. So the left side goes with the visual field, and temporal goes with the other opposite side. What is the amygdala involved in? Aggression center. I also have two words. That's limbic system specifically, involved in emotion, aggression, and mating. But specifically, the temporal lobes also involved in memory and decision making. What are optic disc protein found in rhodopsin that helps trigger action potentials? Raw, it's not rhodopsin. So physiologically, when you see a surprise birthday party, your muscles will tense up, skin temperature increases, facial expressions. Cognitive is how you interpret the party. If you like the party, for example, you're going to be happy about the surprise party. Behaviorally wise, you're going to give off body language, and you're going to give off surge of emotions. Was that it? Body language and facial expression. Heart rate increases most of skin temperature increases, dictate how you interpret emotional response. Someone lets body majority before we give a body image. Okay. Oops. Okay, what effects do benzodiazepines have and what's it used for? Benzodiazepines are depressants, so they will decrease your central nervous system or your CNS activity, which helps reduces like anxiety, fear, pain, reduces anxiety, fear, pain, all that stuff. Um, I think it was the one that also increases your brain's activity to GABA, which opens up chloride channels to make neurons more negative. Anti-anxiety seizure drug, yeah. Lowers CNS, obviously. Binds to GABA receptors. Enhance GABA by opening GABA activates the neurons more negative. Put hard on that one. What is the information processing model memory? Start from the sensory register. You go to input output. Sensory register input. Yeah, input. Okay, yeah. Our brains are similar to computers. We get input, process it, and output decision. That's the information processing model of memory. What is representative heuristic? It's just how we stereotype certain things in general. So, like, we can often stereotype, we judge things based on our pre-developed ideas. Yeah, kind of like stereotyping. Yeah, judge people based on stereotypes. Close enough. Memories that improve as you grow older include your semantic memory, so those are like the words and facts up until about age 60. Your emotional intelligence also goes up, and your IQ goes up. Which cortex receives info from the cochlea? So the cortex that receives info from the cochlea is the auditory cortex, which is in the temporal lobe. What is basilar tuning? This is the idea that certain frequencies will hit certain parts of the cochlea, which triggers certain sounds. Hair cells in the front will trigger higher frequencies will hit hair cells in the front, and lower frequencies will hit hair cells in the back. What is a pathway of sound for cochlear implants? You go from the microphone to the stimulator. I forgot. Microphone, transmitter, receiver, stimulator. So basically the info gets sent to the cochlea where it converts it into a neural impulse. Microphone, transmitter, receiver, stimulator. Transmitter, receiver, stimulator, cochlea converts to neural impulse and goes into the brain. What are scientific works? These are the way we organize thoughts and ideas. The more connected ideas are, the closer they are. The more related concepts are, the closer they are connected. What is a basal forebrain? It is a structure located near the striatum of the brain, and it contains like 4 different things: nuclear accumbens, nuclear subcellus, nuclear bacillus, medial septum nuclei. 3 things. All important for the production of acetylcholine, which is required for orienting attention. Nucleus accumbens. Positive emotions, more activity on the left side of the brain, while negative emotions evoke more activity on the right side of the brain. Availability heuristic. This is just basically a quick way to solve an issue. It's where you base your decision making on whatever comes up, whatever information comes up right away in your brain. So, for example, if you're thinking about going swimming, and all of a sudden you think about a news article about shark attacks that's available heuristic, you're using that as a basis for the making a decision whether to go swimming or not because you're scared of shark or something. What are the three components of transducin? Alpha, beta, and gamma subunit. What is a physical definition of problem solving, going from start goal to end goal? What are the early symptoms of Alzheimer's disease? So Alzheimer's disease, neurons start to die out, so the cerebral cortex shrinks inside, and there's also a buildup of amyloid plaques within the brain. Okay. Difficulty remembering recent loss of short term. I'm going to take a break.